It's almost Halloween, and you may have a stockpile now of mats, and you're wondering what is good to buy, what's bad to buy. So, we're not going to cover any of the cosmetic. Cosmetics are always a good buy if that's what you want. I mean, so we should mention this because it's like the rotting pumpkin in the room. The Cloak of Autumn feathers, the Defender of the Harvest, and the Harvest hat is such a disgusting outfit. That outfit is so ugly. We have our autumn coated shadow apple, caramel bites, cinnamon clouds, and spiced candy, shadow spiced candy. The problem is all this stuff is now useless. I would not waste any materials buying this. And the reason is, let's look at it. What they did is they shortened the bonus from 1 hour down to 20 seconds. The shadow apple gives you plus 10 festive to universal spell power and a plus 5 melee or ranged power bonus. That lasts for 20 seconds. 20 seconds is not very long, nor is plus 5 melee power or plus 10 universal spell power. It's not worth it. If that were plus 100 for 20 seconds, that would be worth it. It's not enough. The next one's even worse, plus 10 to PRR. 10 PRR for 20 seconds, you're taking 2% less damage. It's another complete waste. The same thing with the spiced shadow candy that gives you a plus 10 to magical resistance. That should be one candy that just gives you sheltering resistance, and it should last for an hour. If it at plus 10, the festive bonus should last for an hour, not 20 seconds. Complete waste of time. There is a couple of really great items that are totally worth it. They're not that expensive. This hat of the Night Hag is awesome. One of my favorite things. 5% magical efficiency. Wear it at level 1. It's a great low level hat for TRing if you're doing a caster until you can put on a crown of snow. And then if you wanted a really cool cosmetic, you could always glamour it. Like it looks like a really cool witch's hat. The Hood of Unrest, Move Like Night, is something that gives you 50% festive bonus to dodge for 20 seconds. And this is a clicky. I would recommend buying this instead of the candy because this gives you a 50% bonus. Why would anybody ever not use the Hood of Unrest and use that candy? This Silence of the Tasty Hams is not bad. Gives you 1 to 6 negative damage on a hit. That's not very much, so I would skip that. Death's Smile, I get that just because my guild's name is Death Smile, so I usually buy one. But again, it's a 1 to 6 negative damage boost on hit. Revel's Regalia is fantastic. It's one of the best items. You want to pick one of these up. 25% bonus to spell crit damage, lasts for 90 seconds. That's a minute and a half. You get 1 click per day, and awesome. Delighter's Docent, also awesome. If you are on a Warforged and you're on a Warforged caster, this is an item that you want to grab because this also gives you plus 25 festive bonus to spell crit damage that lasts 90 seconds. Awesome. Highly recommend the Revel's Regalia and the Delighter's Docent. The Brooms of Mystery are best left mysterious. They really are not worth, aside from the fact that you can utilize them to make a glamour, they're really not worth it for the clickies that they give you. The Astro Projector is great. I would pick one of these up. I mean, this is an epic item. If you look at my video that I did yesterday reviewing some of those new level 32 items, this Astro Projector that I'm looking at is level 7 and has better stats than those level 32 items from those new challenge dungeons. How about that? How about that? One of the most legendary items that you can get, and it's level 7. The epic version is even better. I know that they just changed the way weapon damage works, so maybe Vorpal is okay. The problem with Vorpal is that they changed it years ago, and it sort of sucks now. People don't really care. Like, it used to be, if you rolled a 20 and confirmed it, the monster was dead. When it was originally implemented, all you had to do was roll a 20 and the monster was dead. They added the confirming strike. The target has to have fewer than 1,000 hit points in order to be slain. Well, that's BS. That's total BS. That's why nobody likes it, because everything has a way more than 1,000 hit points if you're doing Reapers especially. So essentially it's useless. Ghostbane is always good. For the most part, this damage, unless you're shooting at evil outsiders, would only be doing Ghostbane if you weren't shooting at anything that was undead or spectral. Then you would not see any damage bonuses on this at all, except for your +3. There's no slot. These weapons are a waste of time. You can't even slot. I'm looking at the level 20 bow. +6, and there's no sentient weapon slot. You can't even slot a sentient gem in this weapon until you get level 28. The same thing goes for the great crossbow. Again, the spectral great axe. Like, if you want a weapon that does Ghostbane, okay, grab this, and yeah, now you have a weapon that's made out of force. I don't like any of these spectral weapons. The Cloak of Night. I really want to love the Cloak of Night. Invisibility Guard makes you invisible for 10 seconds. Okay, that would be great if invisibility worked. Invisibility does not work. At level 8, they give you Dusk. You can go to Feywild. At level 5, you can get Blurry. Dusk is a completely outdated, antiquated buff, and they need to get rid of it. That needs to be changed to Blurry. At level 12, it adds Death Block. Now, by level 12, if you don't already have Death Block, there's something wrong. Level 16, Cloak of Night adds something cool. It adds Nightmare Guard, which is good, and it adds Dodge, but the Dodge bonus is only +2. So, Dodge +2 at level 16 is very low. And you will probably have sources of it that are much higher than +2. And keep in mind, sources of Dodge do not stack. So if you have Dodge on any other item that's higher than +2, which you likely will at level 16, that's a complete waste. Nightmare Guard is really good, but is it worth wearing an entire cloak slot just to get Nightmare Guard that might or might not apply a phantasmal killer effect to a random monster that hits you? It's just not worth it. The other thing that's added to this, which is probably the only reason I would use this item, is at level 16 we see for the first time Ghostly. It is a separate mischance. So if you look here, you see my concealment is at 0, but my incorporeality is at 10%. That means that Mary is wearing a Ghostly item. And that is great because that is a separate roll. Like, when a monster goes to hit you, they have to roll that, then they have to roll that, then they have to roll that. So you want to have numbers in all 3 of those. And if you don't have Ghostly by level 16, then this is a good item to get a Ghostly. But that would be the only reason that I would recommend this to you. At level 20, the cloak does get a little bit better in the sense that dodge goes to 4%. Now, I have bracers in my bank that are level 4 that give me 4% dodge at level 4. This is a level 20 epic cloak, right? So that's a terrible bonus. But if you had no dodge and you needed to get dodge, okay, you can grab 4% here. Nightmare Guard, again, it's nice to have, but it's not going to make or break an item. I would not recommend an item over that. I would say, though, that this still is a good source of Ghostly if you don't have it. The other thing that this gives you is a damage reduction, DR5, and then the DR is /good. What that means is that you will take reduced physical damage from all weapons that are not good aligned. So you take reduced damage. Now, that's great, right? 5%, 5 damage less is great. The problem with it is that this is DDO, and that by the time you hit level 20, there are very few mobs that are just doing 5 damage to you. So what will happen is, if you look in your combat log, you'll see like Archer shoots you, the bow with a bow and arrow. The bow and arrow does 100 damage, and 5 were blocked by your damage reduction. So you took 95 damage. So while it's nice to have, it's not going to keep you alive. If that were DR5 good at level 4, that would be fantastic, because at level 4, the kobolds, a kobold may run up and hit you for 3 damage and you could just block the whole thing. So then that would be great. If you could take this item and make it level 4, this would be like one of the best items in the game, right? We can get Death Block at level 1. We can get Ghostly at level 1. You can get Invisibility Guard. Dodge 4, you can get very low level on some random gen items. DR5, like this item at level 20 should actually be level 4, I think. You cannot even slot a gem if you wanted to add something to this to make it even more useful for you. There's no gem slots. So the level 32 version of this cloak actually probably would be worth purchasing because it gives you Enhanced Ghostly. Enhanced Ghostly is rare. Enhanced Ghostly gives you a 15% incorporeal mischance. That is really good. All the rest of it, Dodge 14, DR 15, all the rest of it is just, I think that there's just better options and I wouldn't waste. This is expensive, 120 almonds and 100 apples. And then you have to upgrade from the level 4 cloak all the way up to get this level 32. It's just not worth the time. The Docent of Shadow gives you nullification. So that I can tell you just by looking at this, these bonuses are out of date. There's no slot. You can't slot a gem. Level 28 gives you +5 Necro, and every time you're struck in combat, it hits you with an Inflict Light Wounds. It's a waste. It's not enough. These bonuses are not enough. If you did hand wraps, these hand wraps give you light damage, which that's unusual. So I could see if you were on a monk grabbing some of these. The Robe of Shadow is really cool looking. So if you wanted to make a cool cosmetic, the Robe of Shadow is awesome. As far as the stats go on this item, I cannot recommend this as being good for anyone to use in any situation. I would highly recommend that you use a piece of armor that is part of a set bonus. So go to the Feywild, go to Saltmarsh, go to Isle of Dread, go to Ravenloft, go to Sharn, grab a piece of armor that's in a set, and then skip this. Buy it because the cosmetic is cool, and then skip it. Crystallized Eternity is a club, a two-handed great club that is made out of crystal. So you could grab one of these at level 4 and use it to beat up oozes. I would pick up the level 4 version and then skip everything else. This pick, light pick, again, it's a weapon that does light damage. That's not that common. So if you wanted a weapon that did light damage and you were on a build that could utilize a pick, otherwise, aside from the ×4 crit that you get on these, I don't like them. The Star of Endless Night looks cool, and it does smashing, which is a bludgeon. It does piercing damage. It gives you combat mastery, and then it does evil damage. This also is not bad to pick up. If you are able to use a Morning Star at level 4, it would be a pretty decent weapon for somebody to swing around who wasn't good aligned. But again, no slot. Is it worth it if I look at all the other upgrades that they add to this? No. I do really like these shields. Low level, there is hardly a better buckler. This gives you protection from evil, Ghostbane, and Lifesteal, which is fancy death block. Again, this item, if we look at this level 4 item, is equal to what we saw from the legendary gear from those new challenge dungeons. Like, that's how good this shield is. And it gives you a blue slot. Oh my god, really? Like, this is great. So I highly recommend all these bucklers. Any version of these bucklers is great. The Spectral Dagger looks really cool if you wanted a cool looking cosmetic. There's no slot. It's another Vorpal weapon. It only has a crushing on a critical hit, Evil Outsider. So if you were doing like a Vistani build and you wanted to keep 2 daggers slotted to go up and kill Reapers with, because it has Evil Outsider Bane and Ghostbane, I would say that, yeah, okay, but keep in mind, Reapers are immune to Vorpal. Spectral Throwing Dagger. I pick up a few of these level 4 Spectral Throwing Daggers to use on my alts when I TR. I picked these up because they're returning throwing daggers. You should always have a returning throwing weapon on you, no matter what, so you can hit a lever or something. So if you don't have one, this is a good place to get one. The Eternal Wand of Disrupt Undead. No. This Eternal Wand of Nimbus of Light would be great if Nimbus of Light didn't suck. And then over here for the consumables, Ruby of Ghostbane is great. Yes. Grab a couple of those. Ruby of Vampire Slayer adds light damage. It's okay. Yeah, if you want to add extra light damage, yeah, okay. Ruby of Endless Night does a negative level on Vorpal hits. Skip that one. It's garbage. If you want to enchant one of your random gen items with a Festival Solar, this is worth doing. All of these festive diamonds, Constitution, Wisdom, Intelligence, you want to grab these. These you can min-max your build with. These are very good. The grenades, again, that's up to you. Potions of Death Ward are always worth having. These last for 10 minutes, and you can buy them for 10 chocolates. Absolutely. If you are playing an undead, you can get Inflict Critical Wound Potions. Those are great to have. There's nowhere else to get these unless you buy them on the store for DDO points. Potions of Restoration, same thing. Those are great to have. Personally, I would buy the Death Ward potions, but having a couple of Restoration potions, good. Sun Flasks, people have done Sun Flask builds. I personally don't like them. Irian's Light is really good, plus 25 alchemical bonus to light and alignment damage. So I am on a Warlock. I would benefit from using these potions. So this is a really good spend of 20 chocolate pieces to buy stacks of these Superior Brilliance. These little bottles of incandescence allow you to add temporary light damage to a weapon. I mean, it's not bad. Personally, I would spend the 60 chocolate on something else. Throw a bottle of fear and it does a phantasmal killer effect on the monster. Yeah, it's a great idea, but in my experience, it doesn't hit that often, so they're really not worth it. And these little Maybar crystals that have gargoyles, shadows, and wargs in them, they give you a summoned creature that will follow you around. But they're really not that strong, and I personally don't think it's really worth it if you wanted to experiment with them. Draft of Midnight, absolutely. Purchase these. These are great. This is probably the best item that you can buy from Joe Candymaker. This allows you to get better chocolate drops. It greatly increases your chocolate drop, so it's highly worth buying Drafts of Midnight. Make sure to give me a follow, and I'll catch you guys later.